What if the smallest Nordic nation made a move that could shift global power? The world has been watching with bated breath as tensions between the West and China continue to escalate. But in a turn that nobody saw coming, Norway, the same peaceful nation known for its fjords and Nobel Peace Prize, has been quietly signing agreements with China. Yes, Norway. NATO member, Western ally, Arctic powerhouse. This is a move that could reshape economic and environmental alliances, leaving the US and Europe on edge. But why? What's driving Norway to align more closely with Beijing? And what does this mean for Norway-US relations? Let's go back in time a bit. Norway and China had a rocky relationship for most of the past decade, especially after the Norwegian Nobel Committee awarded the 2010 Nobel Peace Prize to Chinese dissident Liu Xiaobo. Beijing was furious, and diplomatic ties were frozen for years. But then, starting in 2016, Norway and China began repairing their relationship, with major breakthroughs occurring in the last couple of years. What sparked this sudden warming? The answer lies in Norway's unique position as an Arctic nation, with crucial shipping lanes that are becoming more accessible due to climate change. China, with its Belt and Road Initiative, views Norway as a critical player in this new Arctic frontier. The Norwegian Ministry of Trade, Industry, and Fisheries reported that in 2023 alone, bilateral trade between Norway and China grew by an astonishing 35%, with seafood, technology, and renewable energy leading the charge. According to a report in The Economist, China is increasingly looking to Arctic shipping routes to cut travel times by up to 30% for goods heading to Europe. For Norway, this warming of relations with China opens the door to becoming a vital hub in the future of global trade, which could shift the balance of power away from traditional shipping routes controlled by the US and its Western allies. Dr. Arne Melchior, a leading geopolitical analyst at the Norwegian Institute of International Affairs, commented in an interview with Reuters, "The Arctic represents the next great frontier for global trade, and Norway's strategic position makes it a key player. China recognizes this, and Norway is seizing the opportunity to capitalize on its geographic advantage." If you are enjoying our content, please hit the like button. To help us even more, please leave your thoughts and feedback in the comments. Your engagement helps us grow. Thank you. Norway is walking a fine line between its commitments to NATO and its desire to pursue what its leaders call strategic autonomy. As a NATO member, Norway is obligated to participate in joint military exercises and uphold Western defense policies. But when it comes to economic and environmental policies, Norway has always maintained a certain level of independence. In recent years, Norwegian officials have been increasingly vocal about diversifying their global partnerships. Prime Minister Jonas Støre stated in a 2023 interview with the Financial Times, "While we remain committed to our NATO obligations, Norway must also act in its own national interest when it comes to economic ties and sustainability initiatives. China offers us significant opportunities in these areas." The financial data backs this up. In 2023, Norway's seafood exports to China reached $1.8 billion, a 50% increase from the previous year, according to Statistics Norway. But it's not just seafood. Maritime technology and renewable energy are also driving forces behind this pivot toward China. As China builds out its global infrastructure through the Belt and Road Initiative, Norway stands to gain significantly by providing the expertise and technology necessary to power those initiatives. Although Norway is a NATO member, its foreign policy has long been characterized by a degree of independence, especially when it comes to its relations with non-Western powers. This is particularly evident in Norway's Arctic policies. While the US and Canada have advocated for limiting Russia's influence in the Arctic, Norway has maintained open lines of communication with Moscow, especially regarding joint Arctic exploration projects. Norway's stance on China is a continuation of this tradition of strategic autonomy. In 2022, during a speech at the Arctic Circle Assembly, Norway's Foreign Minister Anniken Huitfeldt said, "We believe in open dialogue with all global powers, including China, to ensure that the Arctic remains a region of peace and sustainable development." This sentiment is echoed by China, which sees Norway's independence within NATO as an advantage rather than a threat. According to the Global Times, China's state-owned media, Norway's balancing act between its NATO obligations and its economic interests is seen as a model for other small nations navigating the complex world of 21st century geopolitics. One of the most surprising moves Norway made recently was its decision not to follow the EU and US in imposing tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles, or EVs. While the US and Europe have criticized China for flooding the market with subsidized EVs, Norway, one of the world's largest per capita markets for electric cars, decided to take a different route. In an interview with the New York Times, Norwegian Minister of Trade Jan Christian Vestre explained, "Our goal is to promote sustainable transportation. Imposing tariffs would hurt our own EV market, which heavily depends on affordable imports from China. In fact, Norway imported over 15,000 electric vehicles from China in 2023, marking a 40% increase from the previous year. The financial implications of imposing tariffs would have been severe for Norway's green transition. According to Norwegian Road Federation statistics, 60% of all new cars sold in Norway in 2023 were electric, and a large portion of those were imported from China. By choosing not to follow the Western lead on tariffs, Norway is making a clear statement. It will prioritize its national interest and sustainability goals over external pressures. Seafood is only the tip of the iceberg when it comes to Norway's economic relationship with China. The two nations are also deeply involved in maritime technology and renewable energy projects, areas where Norway has significant expertise and China has vast market potential. In 2023, Norway's seafood exports to China grew by 36%, with salmon leading the charge. But it's not just about fish. China has been investing heavily in Norway's maritime technology sector, particularly in low-emission shipping. According to the Norwegian Maritime Authority, China's interest in Norway's maritime expertise is rooted in its own ambitions to reduce emissions in global shipping by 50% by 2050, a goal it outlined at the United Nations Climate Change Conference, COP26. Norway is also looking to leverage China's manufacturing prowess in renewable energy. In 2023, the two countries signed a $1 billion agreement to co-develop offshore wind farms in the North Sea, a deal reported by Bloomberg. This collaboration could transform the global renewable energy landscape, positioning Norway and China as leaders in the fight against climate change. Dr. Linda Jacobsen, an expert in international trade at the University of Oslo, noted in an article for The Economist, Norway's expertise in renewable energy, combined with China's manufacturing scale, creates a powerful synergy that could have far-reaching consequences for the global energy market. The crux of the Norway-China partnership is their shared commitment to a green future. Both nations have ambitious goals for reducing carbon emissions and promoting renewable energy, and together they're aiming to set a global standard for environmental collaboration. China's hydrogen battery technology and Norway's advancements in offshore wind and hydropower are at the heart of this collaboration. According to a 2023 report by the South China Morning Post, China has been working with Norwegian engineers to design hydrogen-powered shipping vessels, a project that could revolutionize the way global maritime trade operates. In an interview with The Guardian, Li Liwei, a senior official at China's National Development and Reform Commission, stated, "The collaboration with Norway on hydrogen technology is a key component of our strategy to decarbonize the global shipping industry." Norway, meanwhile, sees China as a vital partner in achieving its own climate goals. The two nations' combined efforts in hydrogen and wind energy could serve as a blueprint for how other countries can tackle climate change while maintaining economic growth. This partnership could be the start of a significant shift in global environmental politics, challenging the long-standing dominance of Western powers like the United States and the European Union. For decades, the West has been at the forefront of setting the global environmental agenda, particularly through institutions like the United Nations Climate Change Conference, also known as COP. However, Norway and China's collaboration presents a new model, one where environmental and economic goals are met simultaneously without being dictated by Western norms. According to a 2023 article by The Guardian, China and Norway's alignment represents a broader challenge to the Western-led approach to climate change negotiations. The West often imposes rigid carbon targets and trade restrictions that developing and emerging nations, including China, have historically resisted. By offering an alternative pathway that combines aggressive environmental policies with pragmatic economic cooperation, Norway and China are showing that a different model is possible, one that appeals to other nations feeling stifled by Western standards. Experts are beginning to take notice. John Kerry, the U.S. Special Presidential Envoy for Climate, expressed concerns during a press briefing earlier this year, noting the Norway-China relationship could significantly undercut Western efforts to maintain leadership in global environmental policies. It's a model that prioritizes national interests, and while it's innovative, it may not always align with the broader goals we've set at international summits. Criticism from the West regarding Norway's deepening ties with China has been both loud and widespread. Many see this as Norway turning its back on its Western allies, especially given its membership in NATO and close historical ties with the European Union. However, Norway insists that its motivations are purely pragmatic and grounded in the pursuit of sustainability. Prime Minister Jonas Støre responded to these criticisms during an interview with the Financial Times, stating, "Norway's collaboration with China is not an endorsement of its political system, but a recognition of the need for practical partnerships in solving global issues like climate change. Our focus is on creating a greener future, and China is an essential player in that effort." Moreover, the data seems to support Norway's position. In a 2023 report by the International Energy Agency, Norway ranked as one of the top countries in terms of renewable energy adoption, with over 98% of its electricity coming from hydropower. While the West criticizes Norway's decision to partner with China, the collaboration is producing real results. The Norway-China offshore wind project, which is set to generate enough electricity to power over 2 million homes, will help both nations meet their ambitious emissions targets under the Paris Agreement. Professor Henrik Urdal, head of the Peace Research Institute Oslo, noted in an article for the New York Times, criticism from the West is to be expected, but what Norway is doing with China is deeply pragmatic. If we're to make a dent in the climate crisis, we need partnerships that transcend political ideologies. Norway's defiance doesn't stop at trade or environmental policy. One of the most striking aspects of its evolving global stance is its refusal to fully align with the US on several major geopolitical issues, including the conflict in Ukraine. While Norway has participated in NATO's joint efforts to support Ukraine, it has notably avoided taking more aggressive steps, such as providing military aid or enforcing stringent sanctions on Russia. In a 2023 op-ed for the Washington Post, Anne Applebaum, an expert on European geopolitics, wrote, "Norway's decision to keep a degree of separation from the US on Ukraine is emblematic of its broader desire for autonomy. Norway is showing that it can chart its own course in global affairs, one that doesn't always align with American interests. This approach has allowed Norway to maintain open channels of communication with both Russia and China, while still fulfilling its NATO obligations." It's a balancing act that has allowed Norway to position itself as an independent actor on the world stage, one that prioritizes national interests over loyalty to any one bloc. Foreign Minister Anniken Huitfeldt clarified Norway's stance in a press release following a NATO summit. "We are committed to the defense of Europe and our NATO obligations, but this does not mean that we should limit ourselves when it comes to economic opportunities or dialogue with non-Western powers. This evolving stance reflects Norway's broader goals to secure its own economic future, to play a key role in global sustainability efforts, and to maintain its strategic independence in an increasingly polarized world." The Norway-China alliance could serve as a model for other nations, particularly smaller economies, that are seeking to address climate change while preserving their own economic independence. This partnership proves that it's possible to forge new paths in the global landscape, without having to fall in line with the major powers' agendas, be it the US, the EU, or China. In a World Economic Forum panel discussion, Ren Zhengfei, founder of Huawei, commented on the alliance. "Norway is showing the world that small nations can leverage their unique strengths and find common ground with larger partners to address global challenges. It's a reminder that geopolitical power doesn't only rest in the hands of superpowers. For other countries that face the pressure of aligning with Western environmental policies that may not suit their economic realities, the Norway-China collaboration offers an alternative route. It demonstrates that there is space to innovate on environmental issues while also securing national interests." And what lessons can other countries learn from Norway and China's collaboration? The most significant lesson from Norway's partnership with China is that global environmental efforts don't need to be dictated by a single group of nations or constrained by pre-existing alliances. By working with China, Norway is forging a new path, one where environmental sustainability goes hand in hand with economic growth, even if that means stepping outside of traditional Western alliances. If this partnership proves successful, it could redefine how nations, especially smaller ones, approach environmental sustainability. It's a model that prioritizes innovation, pragmatism, and cooperation, rather than adhering to rigid geopolitical lines. We hope you are enjoying this video. We're thrilled to have you with us today. If our content struck a chord or sparked some inspiration, go ahead and smash that like button and hit subscribe to join our awesome community. Please share this video to help us grow. Your support is super valuable. Check out another video from our channel, which is now on the screen.